Well, we usually have the format of asking, so you tell about yourself, so you can tell whatever. And then the follow-up question is like, what are the things that we shouldn't ask you about? So you have like, this is the expertise, this is not the expertise.
Okay.
Okay, and we can start, I think. Because I already pushed the button record.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Build Radio podcast. Today, our guest is Paweł Zaremba. Hello, Paweł.
Hey.
Thanks for joining us. And my name is Polina, and with me is Andrzej Sobel, and we're co-hosting. So, Paweł, can you tell a little bit about yourself?
So I'm a developer. I started with PHP a long time ago when jQuery was a thing, and I also did some jQuery. And then right now I am a Go developer for work and for hobby. I like it very much. This is actually my passion. Developing software is my passion, so I never feel like I'm working, but because of that I'm working too much. So right now I'm at Chronicle. We are doing oracles, and Chronicle is a spin out of MakerDAO. We are providing oracles for MakerDAO and our other customers. And we're building a distributed network of validators to get the data for oracles from the real world to on-chain. In addition to that, a few years ago, we started with some friends, we started ETH Warsaw, a local community for crypto and Ethereum oriented people, which is going quite well. And this takes up most of my free time.
Yeah, I visited ETH Warsaw 2 years ago. It was fun. So if you are living East Europe, at least, or maybe in whole Europe, it's like good way to go to the Poland and to join this hackathon and conference. It's fun. Believe me, it's fun.
Exactly. And actually it's happening again in September. So September 4 until 7th, there's a conference and a hackathon in Warsaw. So everyone's welcome. And later I'll have a surprise for you.
Did you tell a little bit about surprise? We will not tell anyone, you know.
The surprise is a discount
What will be the
code.
surprise?
I've got a discount code for you, but I need to look it up.
I think the problem is that we'll probably put this episode online after the event.
No. We will put a lot of effort to do it before Warsaw.
Okay, cool.
Right.
All right, then we'll see.
Surprise
we'll see
at the end.
Surprise at the end.
If you listen to the end, there's a surprise. Okay. All right, and now can you also tell us the expertise that we shouldn't ask you about? What are the questions that we shouldn't touch base at the episode?
Do you mean the ones I don't know anything about? Because I'm a guy, so you know that I will tell you, like, speak about anything, even if I don't know it. But or the ones that I shouldn't be like talking about because of, I don't know, business or something. So I'm not writing smart contracts, but in oracles, smart contracts where they are very, very important and like a crucial part of oracles, of course, because the data needs to be on chain and it needs to be done properly. I'm not exactly like developing smart contracts. We're using them in the backend team. We are using them. We are working with the on-chain team to be for everything to be synced up, of course, and we know enough about cryptography to work with it and do it safely, but I am not developing the contracts myself. That's it. The rest I can speak about quite a lot.
So regarding to the oracles and the We already know that from your speech that at least for the making Oracle live, we need at least the smart contract things and something that we will have on the chain side, and we need to have a network of validators or data providers into the smart contracts, and we need to have this network and some rules of selection of these people. So maybe let's start from the question how it exactly works on the Chronicle side.
Okay.
How you select the validators or Oracle data providers, how we can call it, and all of this stuff around it.
So actually, like the base mode of operations for any oracles is getting the data from off-chain to on-chain. And if the data is not on-chain, and if the data is not on the same chain that you are using it on, then it actually, in my opinion, is not an oracle. It's something almost an oracle. Because what an oracle is something that gives you the truth about something that happened, or something that is some kind of value or some kind of message, whatever you like. And it actually needs to be available to any transaction and any smart contract that needs this data. So first we have a contract that stores the data. And then we have something or someone that's populating the contract with accurate data. And there are a lot of issues with that, of course, because who do you trust to do it? How do you verify if the data is correct? How do you make sure that no one is manipulating that? And also, who is permitted to provide the data? Is it an open set, or can it be everyone or anyone, or is it someone that is just a closed group? Also, if you are an Oracle provider, are you the only one that is getting the data for the oracles, or are there any independent parties, independent validators that are actually using that and doing that? So these are all of the questions. In Chronicle, we have the most centralized Oracle system you can think of, and I would say even the safest, because all of our data is persisted on-chain. There was a moment where people tried to argue that oracles can be done off-chain and only on demand get you the data that you require, but that's not really an oracle, because it's not available every time you want this transaction. You need to do something else and get this data from somewhere else. So data availability is compromised. And so we've got contracts and we've got software, like we build the validator software and we distribute it to independent parties like Etherscan, ETH Global, and other Starknet and other reputable projects, which actually, by joining the Chronicle protocol, are staking their reputation on these oracles. Meaning that if they decided that they want to manipulate the oracles, first of all, we would notice. Second of all, it wouldn't work, because in addition to that, we are offloading this work to independent parties. We actually require a quorum to decide on the validity of the data, meaning that we require 13 signatures from independent parties, reputable projects, that verify that this value is correct, and only then we are persisting this on chain. And this is where Chronicle stands out from the rest of the Oracle providers, because all of them, or at least most of them, even the biggest ones, are actually, first of all, not showing you who is doing the validation. Then you need about 4 or 3 signatures, not 13, as we do. And actually, most of them are run by the providers, the Oracle providers themselves, meaning that if they wanted, they could manipulate. And it's not even about malice. It's about redundancy. It's about safety and security. If they got hacked, everything would get hacked. If we got hacked, we wouldn't be able to change anything in the system that would compromise the network. So we are actually building a protocol, not only a system, but also a protocol where we take into account that something may break, that the network or the validators themselves can be compromised.
So I'm curious, you mentioned that you can easily detect the manipulation of the oracles, but let's talk about like different examples. If we're checking the price on an exchange, for example, we have an API endpoint for that. So if you check that kind of simultaneously, you can see if someone manipulates, but you need to have some sort of range of the error that you have. But are there like some things that is harder, like, I don't know, some real world assets or some APIs
real world assets
that just give you different,
yes. The real world assets are complicated. But I'll get to that. But for DeFi, for everything that is public, we are not calculating an average. We are calculating a median, which means that we only take the value in the middle of the data set. And any outlier does not impact the middle value. It just gets discarded. So the median always gives us the best value anyone could get. So that's for DeFi. For real-world assets and verified asset oracles, as we call it, which we rolled out a while ago, that's more complicated because it's not always possible to give access to everyone to the data that needs to be verified. But there are solutions that are being prepared. There are things that are in the works, like in general, not only in the industry, not only in Chronicle, but we are also working on that, is zero knowledge. So you could use a zero knowledge proof from a real-world asset provider and have them calculate this ZK part, and then we would verify it on chain, which would be great if it worked, but we're not, no one's there yet. The claims are very big, but it still needs time. But for reward assets, we are cooperating with providers, liquidity providers, or like not data providers, the actual funds that have this reward data to be persisted on chain. So we are cooperating with them to get this data, create a proof for the validator network to be able to verify that it's correct. So you need to, like in oracles in general, it's mostly about trust. We don't trust, we verify. But there's always this small component of trust that you need to push as much as you can away from the contract. So the first oracles back in the day was very simple. Someone was updating a value, so the trust was very close. It was just one transaction away. Then everyone moved to median oracles, and the proof was still done on chain. So that was expensive, but it worked as a median. So one more step away from the contract. Right now, what we have a third or even a fourth iteration of the oracles that are using Schnorr signatures and so signature aggregation schemes. And we are actually pushing this trust even farther away from the chain. So the off-chain part does a lot of computation, which would be expensive to do on-chain, but it outputs a verifiable proof that the values are okay. And then that gets put into the network verifies it again, and the network signs, stamps it that it's okay, signs the message, and then it gets on-chain. So we have pushed the burden of proving and the trust assumptions quite a lot away from the chain.
Regarding to Medium, and what I understand of your explanation, that there is a protocol where we have set a validator that gives every other validator the data. After that, they know what exactly will be medium here, and they already collect the signatures for voting for this specific medium. That means that there is some, maybe a BFT consensus algorithm, maybe just consensus algorithms that avoid that gives guarantee regarding to the liveness, or how it works on that side, because there is should be some, I don't know, complex or maybe simple heuristics how you exactly know that you show to the public into the.
So the trust assumption on the validator side still exists. They need to get this data independently, but when they get this data, they publish it on chain, and some leader is selected for a session of creating this Schnorr signature. So they have 25 signatures to choose from. They choose the most recent ones. They do a median, and they, as a leader, they initiate a session. So where they initiate a session, they provide all of the collected signatures for everyone to verify that yes, this was given to us by this specific validator. And then when they agree, they exchange nonces. To go very deep, they exchange nonces, then they exchange commitments, and then out of that we can compose an aggregate signature that gets verified on chain. So they get, this is basically how it works in the Schnorr aggregation scheme.
Yeah, so I was also curious, what are the ways to use oracles except for DeFi, and what are the actual use cases for RWA, real world assets that exist?
So with DeFi being big, it's not big enough. And to be able to grow, the blockchains need to be a backbone of all of the financial systems in the world. And that's actually what's happening already. We see big institutions going into Ethereum and trying to build stuff on Ethereum. But what we can do with that, except for DeFi, is verify and tokenize assets, put them on chain. Is it beyond DeFi? It depends, but you could tokenize assets, put them on chain, and then do something with that. Also, I was thinking that blockchains could make notary services obsolete. If you could prove that you have something and that you put your signature on a document on chain, without even revealing the actual document, you put the signature on chain at a specific date or block height, you could actually then, if someone asks you, easily prove that you have done it at this specific time. And that's exactly what notary services are doing. They are rubber stamping the fact that you did some action, that an event occurred. Of course, usually they also verify that what you sign is actually the truth, but it works differently in different jurisdictions, I would say. So, yeah, notary services could be actually made obsolete with all of the technologies that we have built, oracles included.
Okay, but regarding to DeFi application, but like reality right now is that there is a why we need Oracle right now. It's mostly about the conditions for the liquidations on the Lightning protocol. Am I right, or maybe I'm missing something?
Like, in general, yes, but the conditions can be met or the conditions can be created in different ways. What oracles are important, why oracles are important in this area is that they are the only systems that can attest to what is the truth, what is fact. Because if you have unsigned messages, or if you have untrusted entities just verifying the number on chain, that makes it only gossip. Someone's heard something, they said something, and they put it on chain. But what oracles do, they turn that gossip into fact. So being able to source the same data from by different validators is super important until we have a working ZK system. But ZK, generalized ZK, that is working for everything. And it's a long way to achieve that. So right now the oracles are not exactly creating the conditions because the market is creating the conditions, but there is a big, fortunately getting smaller, but there's a big gap between what we have in the real world and what we have on chain. The blockchains are blind. They don't see anything beyond themselves. That's why the oracles are so important, and they need to be resilient, secure, and actually unhackable, unbreakable. So it's not that they are creating the conditions. They are verifying that the conditions are what we say they are.
What's the most complicated real-world asset to verify at the moment? And how does it work in Chronicle?
It depends. The real-world assets problems are not technical. And I don't know if it's a problem. It's just a challenge. So the challenge of real-world assets is not technical. It is legal, it is procedural, or whatever else that the institutions have developed for the long years of working. And conforming to the new technologies is very hard for them. We are actually helping them, the real-world verified asset providers. We are helping them to transform their process into something that can be put on chain, and this is the most valuable service in regards to verified assets, real-world assets, that we have. And since we have 8 years experience or more doing oracles, we actually know how to best help any providers, any customers. So it's not technical. It's not a technical problem.
Okay, so regarding the technical problems that you mentioned, there is like the shiny world of ZK that can happen, that can exist in the future. But before we can go to the ZK stuff, actually we can get something similar in the property if we will use much cheaper technology. It's cheaper technology in the case of using it, but not only in using, but in the case of breaking it. It's a trusted execution environment. What do you think about this one? And that's the first question. The second question is your validator network right now already, like, is there a code that already run in the trusted execution environment where you like 100% sure that you have verification of the HTTP request when you call, for example, the exchange, so you verify the signature of the response of the HTTPS and inside TE, and after that provides its signature, or it's still we are not still ready for this one.
Yes. So trusted execution environments are just a fancy word for someone else's computer. That was the same case with cloud services and so on. Trusted execution environment is something that I wouldn't trust to be doing actual Oracle work. Of course, you can have certificates, you can have elaborate setups to make it as much as trusted as possible, but still, the problem is with the first word, trusted. We want trustless, and that's what we are fighting for, and we're not gonna back down. Trusted execution environments might be useful in the meantime, yes, but that's no way a goal that we wanna stay with or aim for. It's not a final goal. It's not the end game. Trusted execution environments are just a step towards something better. So in regards to our validators, we are not using trusted execution environments because we do not require that. The architecture of our system does not require a trusted execution environment. We create the proofs. We are the only ones that have access to certain data, and we are creating proofs to verify that this data was checked by us and is correct, and then we publish that to the validator network. So they are not doing any trusted execution.
Okay. What do you think about using AI for oracles then? AI is actually useful when monitoring oracles. Apart from that, there's not really much that the AI can do. The AI can figure out if this value looks correct. The AI can not verify anything. Like the AI can try to figure out maybe a model, but to use to calculate the data, because just straightforward taking values from an exchange does not work. It's not robust because it's easily manipulated. So AI is not good for anything that we have, that anyone has. If they say otherwise, that's actually marketing. That's it, vaporware. So AI is not good for accessing and getting the data. What AI is good for is for detecting anomalies, detecting network instabilities, detecting all of the things that Web 2 is doing, and does not require any Web 3 knowledge. So
AI is useful. We are sometimes using that to create monitoring processes, but that's it. AI is nice to create nice images. AI is nice to go through a big data set to figure out something, but then you still need to verify it, of course. But oracles don't do that. If oracles were to, I don't know, get you quotes from the legal system of a country, then maybe that would be useful. But I don't see that being on chain anytime soon, because who needs that? Well, the one important thing I would like to say about oracles, you need to actually, it's not cheap to run oracles, so you need to actually do something with this data. At the beginning, some people said, oh, we can get weather data on chain. What for? What for? The only reason you would need weather data on chain is if you had a system to, for example, liquidate someone if the weather is bad and they have some stake in, I don't know, grain or something. That's it. Yeah.
Actually, you said about one of another biggest use case, except liquidation on the latest protocols, it's like prediction markets. So, because prediction markets cannot exist without any Oracle data, because you are making bet on some future event. And in this case, you always need the someone who will push the data to the on chain. But there is an interesting thing, because if we talk about prices of some assets here, actually you can easily understand that this is true or false, because you can monitor it in the same time and to try to compare it. But regarding to the something some events and some events are related to the prediction market, what do you think about incentives of the providing the throw into the prediction market? Because right now it looks like the incentives in current prediction markets not really good aligned. And there is a lot of excuses how you can say that this is true and this is false, but
Yeah, that's true. About incentives, the incentives to not be malicious, to do positive work, needs to be higher than the potential benefit of not doing that, which is actually very, very hard. It is for prediction markets, if it benefits more to manipulate the system, then people will just manipulate it. That's basic human instinct, and anyone doing this for as a business will choose to do something that will make them allow them to cash out easily and not do anything else in their lives. So prediction markets, yes, they need good oracles, but I don't see a way for the incentives to improve. The AI you mentioned, actually that would be useful to actually verify the verified data a little bit, but that's statistics. It's less of this AI magic that happens in a black box that no one understands anymore. So, and then are we talking about a perfect AI that doesn't hallucinate, which we're far from? Or are we talking about AI that sometimes hallucinates, and this sometimes may be crucial and blow everything up? So, yeah, I like AI for fun right now, and for knowledge, for looking through knowledge, going through and learning stuff, which is quite helpful. And it's so creepy that it knows what I want to write. I don't know, but code, I mean, not a message, but not a on a communicator, but I'm writing something and it just says, oh, you can write this, and this will work. And I look at it, wow, it's perfect. And it's actually my style. Okay, I know why it is my style, because it looked at the rest of the code, but still, it figures out things before I know I want them. Yeah, but that's like a small segue. I digress, as usual.
All right. I mean, let's head back a little bit towards incentives. So what do you think is the right incentive model? Like staking, slashing, reputation, cryptographic proofs? Because as you've mentioned, like oracles sooner or later get to this point of trust. We're just getting it farther from smart contracts. And as you mentioned, like there's probably never going to be the best incentive, so everyone behaves the right way. But what do you think is the best? Or could
that's
be
the thing.
best?
I don't know what's the best right now, because as you mentioned, slashing and staking. The stake needs to be bigger than the reward for violating that. So in Chronicle, we have 13 validators that are required to create a signatures, which all stake their reputation. Because you can imagine one or two validators collaborating to break the system and run away with, $6 billion, which is quite a lot. But so you can calculate the likelihood or the probability of two parties colluding to do something malicious. But the likelihood of 13 colluding is so low that we actually have this giant stake of 13 projects that their combined reputation is staked in Chronicle. Not only one or two or three, 4 at most at some of the biggest competitors. I won't name them. But the likelihood of 13 colluding is so low that is like impossible to, not real. So the staking works only when the stake is big enough. If you stake some value, like some on-chain value money, basically, then it needs to be more. It needs to be more expensive to work against the system. Then you have the chance to gain from working against the system. That's it. Like that, it's a simple equation. It just needs to be bigger. Is it bigger when you have a low value or a low number of validators required? No. So staking works when the stake is big enough. Let's think what else could be the incentive. It's really hard because with ZK, there is no incentive. There is no requirement for any incentive because ZK, a proper ZK, like this perfect ZK that works, that you are able to create a ZK proof. Even if it's expensive, you do it off chain, but on chain you verify it quickly and cheaply. If that exists, there is no need for validators and there is no need for staking anything because you will have the truth. You will have the ultimate oracle. A perfect ZK system would be an ultimate oracle. The trusted execution environments are not good enough for that. And that's basically it. Either a big stake or no stake at all. No stake required. That's how I see it.
Okay, so yeah, it's a big stake or no stake at all. And regarding when we think about the incentives, when we think about all of these things, we are actually thinking about the pessimistic cases in the worst case scenario. And I just want to ask you what you see the biggest disaster in the Oracle world, or that you can say that, okay, this is the bad things that happened. It's like a lot of people was liquidated, or can you give us a little bit example, maybe about Chronicle and about your competitors? You didn't want to mention it, but I will kindly ask you to mention
Sure.
like the competitors also and show what was the disaster, the biggest disaster you see in full world and in the Chronicle actually.
We can start with Maker, for example. Maker and Chronicle never had an outage, but in 2019 there was this event called 19 or 20, 19 I think, Black Thursday, which was a day when I think they were minting CryptoKitties or something, and the gas cost on Ethereum went so high that the network got congested. And then you still need to update the oracles. We call it poke. We just poke the oracle. Update. So we needed to poke the oracles, but the price was enormous. But Maker just did it. Like MakerDAO paid a lot of money for updates, and the oracle system never broke. So, but this shows one specific thing about oracles. The biggest disaster for oracles, like the ultimate disaster, is when the Ethereum network breaks. But when it breaks, the oracles are not like the problem. The biggest problem is everything else. So we have bigger problems when something breaks on Ethereum. A smaller disaster is when you create oracles that are stupid. For example, what is the truth? Is like if you have a stable coin and you are sending updates on the price of the stable coin, which is of course 1 or 101 or 0.99 USD, but something like that, but it fluctuates. What is the truth when the market crashes and this stable coin gets depegged and like heavily depegged, going from $1 to 10 cents? What, like, should you then post this data on chain, liquidate everyone, but since it went down and the markets went bust, is that the truth? Or do you create something like a circuit breaker that checks, okay, we have a stable coin around $1, but if it goes to like 70 cents, we don't post a value lower than 70 cents. That means that there's no, like, even if the market goes to zero, the value reported by oracles is 70 cents, for example. Excuse me. So, what is the truth then? Is the market conditions, the actual market conditions, the truth? Or is the value given you by the circuit breaker the truth? Neither is actually true. And that's the biggest problem for oracles, because you have to figure out which is better, and you have to then think better for whom. So it's a super complicated issue. And this one competitor called Chainlink had a hard-packed like limit on the values they were presenting when Terra Luna went down, and they liquidated a lot of people because it caused some problems for a chain, because they reported the value of the stable coin. I'm not sure if it was Terra or something else, but they reported a value that was not actually, but was neither the market value nor $1 USD. So they broke the system because they had a circuit breaker that kept pushing a bad price on chain. So for an oracle, that's a disaster. But I was thinking that it was a really complicated issue. What should you do then? So I think the best thing is to halt the system. Halt the system but the question is for how long? If the market conditions prevail and they stay like that, then that means, well, maybe you should report this low value and everyone should be liquidated. But actually, it really depends on the risk factors that the users, so the protocols that were using those oracles, they take into account. So it's a big disaster to report a bad value. And for oracles, that's, I don't know. It's not maybe something that like shuts down the whole company, but it depends on the impact. Actually, you always need to verify what's the impact and what's the likelihood of something bad happen. This black swan event, although very improbable, it is possible. So what do you then? And actually, the solution to that is also not technical. Communication. You need to communicate. You need to go to the customer. You need to go to the protocol and say, okay, are we halting or are we reporting this bad price? And the sooner you do it, the safer your clients, customers, I mean the normal people that are using the oracles are. And actually, I don't think that many projects watch out for the users of the protocols. They just care about the bottom line of their business. Chronicle is a little bit different. We take into account all kinds of factors, and actually we communicate with our customers when there's something wrong on their side, even like there's a pool that we get the data from, and this on-chain pool gets very low liquidity. Then we immediately communicate to the customer, hey, this is going to be a problem. We need to stop reporting on this or using this source. You please provide a different one so you are safe and your users are safe. Yeah. Okay, you can interrupt me whenever you want because I can speak quite a lot.
I mean, it's up to you to speak a lot. That's okay.
Yeah.
We kind of touch base so many topics in here, to be honest. So I had a question about like general manipulation risk from oracles, and we kind of segued a little bit into communication is the key, and sometimes just letting people know that they're using the wrong source of information is incorrect. So to touch based on that, I think you cannot mitigate like flash loans with communication.
Yes,
because
sure.
If someone is like quickly sees that and uses it, it's like no matter how much you communicate, it will just happen.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
How can you potentially mitigate that, I guess, is a question. Or where are the risks?
It's not the responsibility of the oracles here. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. Because when you are a customer of an Oracle provider, you, the customer, need to create a spreadsheet with all of the risks. You you find the most outlandish things that you can think of and put it into, like, quantify it a little bit and try to see likelihoods and impacts.
By the customer, you mean like a business who's going to run, I don't know, a DeFi protocol or something, not an actual user.
Yeah. Yes. A DeFi protocol, just they need to look at the risks and they need to do it properly. And as I remember, actually what Maker was and is right now, it's called Sky, but Maker and Sky are really, really good at factoring in the risks. So it's not really an Oracle problem because the behavior of an Oracle can be defined and very precise. We can have strict and specific rules, and we could have two oracles for Ethereum, and we could say that this oracle has those properties. So it's updated every day, or when when the price changes by some like 15 bips or something like that. For Ethereum, it will be very often, but whatever. So you can have this oracle, but you can also add this condition: if the price drops by 50%, we stop populating this data. And at the same time, you could have a separate oracle that says, okay, price dropped, we update. So you could have different conditions for the same asset depending on what the protocol needs. If the protocol has a risk, like they offset the risk somehow of price dropping very, very, very low, then that's fine. But it is all about the risk calculations. So yeah, like we as an oracle provider can have different properties of the oracle of the same asset oracles.
Yeah, but it's not only about the risks, because you kindly mentioned it, that there is a, let's call it, there is a political problem, because there is some events that happen in the real world, and you can translate it into the market and to show it, and some set of users will lose the money. If you will not show it, another set of users will lose the money. And in this case, it's like look like like trolley problem, where you need to make actually the political or maybe even ethical decision.
Yeah.
Should you show it into the like Ethereum or any other blockchain or not?
Yes, but you can define that. For oracles, you can very specifically define that at the beginning or like during the operations of the oracles, and your users need to be informed. So we have oracle provider, we have the protocol and like DeFi protocol, and we have the users. The users need to be informed by the DeFi protocol that if the market crashes, you're going to be liquidated, or if the market crashes, you are not going to be liquidated, but someone else is going to have a problem. And like all of that is on the side of the DeFi protocols, or like any protocols, because there's no other way. We as an oracle provider, we can define some parameters together with the customer. We can keep those parameters because we're good at that, but there's no way we can know that this protocol, how the protocol is using, like, okay, we can ask, but we have no control over how the protocol is using this value. And that's true for anyone. The oracles, being very complicated technically, are conceptually a very simple system. Reliably, verifiably get data on chain from the real world or wherever you want. And that's it.
How do you reliably get some get API call if it, I don't know, changes rapidly, for example? And do you have queries on different times? That may be a stupid question, but it's something I was interested in.
No, it's okay. It's a good question. So the validators being distributed, they query it at different times. So they have different values, and this gives us some. There's a jitter in this data, you could say, and then the median calculation, which is the consensus actually, it does its thing. Like we just take the middle value. If the middle value changes rapidly, then the oracles change rapidly, unless we have a setting that the spread is higher than this jitter. Like usually that's how oracles are configured, that you don't update on every change. You update only when the data changes by 15 bips or like 1% or 10%, depending on some 100% when we count the Pepe coin. So it's not that important, but we have it. So the validators query at different times, and that gives us like a reliable overview of what happens. They query different exchanges at the same time, so we actually have two median levels. One median is like when you get the Ethereum price, we query all of the possible exchange APIs, and then we could take a median out of that, and we multiply that by the number of validators because they all do the same. So the middle value from each validator might actually be not only different because the value is different, but also different because the provider, like the exchange, is different. So we have multiple exchanges, multiple values, multiple times, multiple exchanges and multiple times give us multiple values, and that's a very good overview. It's not always so easy to have multiple data sources. Then that's why we are very strict and we take our time creating the data models. The data model is this black box. You have all the inputs and you spit out one value. That's the data model in our system. So our data models are sometimes very simple, like for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and something that is on every exchange, but sometimes are very complicated because not all of the exchanges have all of the assets listed. So you need to do a calculation, that you need to do another set of calculations, and you could have layers upon layers upon layers of calculations, which in the end give you this final value. So getting the data from different validators, that actually does what I think you were talking about. It like gets the data at like the data points are really, really different. Like there's very low likelihood that the two separate validators would get the same data, the same value, or get the data at the same time.
But how would you differentiate between like manipulation from oracles, the ones who read from the API, from like actual market being super fluid? So if you have super random meme coin that just goes sideways on every exchange it listed, and then you have oracles who just read and they have just different data because, for example, like between exchanges, the arbitrage didn't happen yet or something like this.
But
super random data, and how would you like define if it's manipulation or it's actually so?
So, as I said, the median actually fixes that, because if most of them have this value at a certain level, we assume that that's the actual value. If you because it's less likely that multiple exchanges would be manipulated at the same time. Of course, if the asset is illiquid, then it's easy to change the value, and we are like on our dashboard at chroniclelabs.org, you can see the quality of the asset. So is it something volatile? Is it something that has low liquidity? Then it has a lower quality than something that is super strong. So we have in addition to that, we have this risk factor displayed on our dashboard, and you can see that we can use this asset, but we know that this liquidity might just go away instantly. So how do you differentiate? We compare things against the normal aggregators that everyone is using, but we are not using the data from aggregators. So because that would actually increase the error factor. The errors would compound. So we are never using aggregators, CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap or whatever, never using those, but we can reliably compare against those, and we can quickly react if something is very, very off. So our monitoring system, again, off-chain, our monitoring system is comparing the data from our oracles and from our actually sources, so from the DEXs, SEXs, and other contracts, to the values that the whole world considers okay, meaning the aggregated values. But since we are not using those aggregated values in the data models, so in the price calculations, the errors do not compound, and we can have this comparison, and then we can quickly react.
Yeah, regarding to like this, like there is a your data model here where you just aggregate everything from through the validator. There is a monitoring things that follow what's going on by what's going on in data provided by validators, and there is a smart contract that get this data. But there is we ignore one important thing, because before we collect like final transaction and sign it and collect full list of the signatures. This transaction should be actually delivered to the chain, and there is between this transaction and between finalized block there is a lot of people, a lot of subject, a lot of process regarding to the and regarding to the some auctions that happen through the validators, bribes that can be paid for including this transaction or including transaction before this transaction, or bribe paid to hide this transaction or delayed it. What do you think about these things? How you avoid this house that exists on the validator, searcher, builder side?
So what are you talking about is, I think, this Oracle extractable OEV, Oracle extractable value.
It's only part of this problem. Not full, but it's only part of this problem.
And we're not we're pushing the data on chain, and I'm thinking if someone wanted, they could use that to do a sandwich attack or something. But for example, Maker did also implemented a delay, meaning that you could have this message early, but you wouldn't be able to affect the market immediately. So if you don't use a delay, that is a problem, of course. And the mempool is open and anyone can get the data. But there is no one is, and I don't think even no one should be doing that on the Oracle side. Like the values that will be persisted in the next second, in the next block, they should be public, because why not? This is actually the same argument as with MEV. If you have this data, you can use it, but if you create a system that actually benefits everyone, then why not? So I'm not sure I'm answering your question, but I think this aspect is also beyond what oracles should be doing. We could use a private pool, of course, and sometimes we are, but for different things. And what? That's basically it. But if we go from the time on the market, the time that values change on the market, to the times that get persisted on chain, provided that the price changes enough, so above the spread that I was talking about earlier, then actually we are capable of providing the prices in sub-second intervals. So we went down from a few seconds, or even sometimes 30 seconds to get the final price. We went down from that to a sub-second interval. So right now, if we wanted, we could do 0.9 seconds for a big data set and for a big quorum, but we could go to below 100 milliseconds also keeping the security, keeping the verifiability of the whole system, we could go down to below 100 milliseconds if we wanted. But no one wants it. Like, that's not key. If it is, we're there. We can provide it. Hit us up. We'll get you. We'll get you sorted.
Okay, that's probably going to be our last question now. But also something I was curious, and we briefly touched base on it earlier in the podcast, but as oracles provide the data outside of the chain that the data is provided to, so for Ethereum it would be like APIs. So what do you think about other chains? And should oracles also serve as a cross-chain messaging layers, or is it like scope creep?
I think it is already there, this scope creep. Oracles are supposed to be attesting to something that happened. It doesn't really matter if it's from the real world to on-chain or between different chains. It's the same. The gap is the same. Things happening on one chain and on the other chain, they are separate enough to be considered separate domains. Just like this the real world is a separate domain. So I don't think that's beyond what oracles could and should be doing. That's really fine. But of course, if you want to create a separate chain, it's actually better to do an L2, a rollup to Ethereum, than create your separate chain. Because why would you want that? You have the security and the stability of L1 Ethereum chain built in, and then you just build on it. So of course oracles are doing that. We had this thing called teleport that we attested to things happening on different chains and send this data to different chains, and then something was triggered thanks to that. But is anyone actually doing that? Okay, like bridging, of course, that's happening, but it would be easier and better to just have a, for example, escape hatch built into an L2 and be able to do things on L1 if the L2 breaks. But otherwise, it's better to have these chains be interconnected. But of course, oracles can help with that as well, and it's not beyond what oracles do. And I don't think that's scope creep. That's part of what core oracles actually do. That's the core principle and core operation. Providing data, like bridging the gap between domains.
Yeah, and core principles of this podcast, it's keep not 10 hours. So yeah, I think as Polina said, it's true. It was the last question, and I need to say thank you to the Paweł to this discussion. I need to say thank you to Polina for asking good questions. And I need to say that if you want to support our podcast, do not donate to our podcast. Donate to the savelives.in.ua, because we are two Ukrainians who are actually hosting this podcast, and it's really important to support the Ukrainian army in this time. And actually, just we need to say that there is a ETH Warsaw will happen very, very soon. So yeah, if you want to join ETH Warsaw, we will really appreciate it, because it's very fun event. So yeah. And Pavel, maybe you can add a little bit more about ETH Warsaw.
Yeah, so ETH Warsaw, we decided to do ETH Warsaw a few years ago when people from Poland kept meeting outside of Poland on conferences. It's like you go to Spain, you go to Lisbon, you go to Prague, and you see the same Polish people again and again, and we sat down and was wondering, why don't we have a conference in Warsaw? It's a technical hub of Europe, of course, one of the technical hubs of Europe. Then let's do it, and that's how it happened. So we started doing that first with the Warsaw University of Technology, my alma mater, the school I had a lot of sentiments for, and then the first 2 years were there in these beautiful buildings. Now we are doing it in a conference event area, very near to that, still in the center of Warsaw. So it's a nice event, and we are gathering builders. Like initially we started doing that for developers, to get developers from Web 2 to Web 3, which we still are. And we will have boot camps, we will have incubators for startups in Web3, but we also welcome, and we also have content and people from different areas, not only developers, like lawyers, like people in media, people in design and everything. So, because building is not only the technical things, like you need to have a very broad set of skills to actually build something interesting. So we are our mission is to get people together to build something new, something useful for the majority of the people. And that's ETH Warsaw. We have meetings, we have side events, we have some parties. So come to Warsaw in September 4 to 7th, and join us in this celebration of Ethereum. Oh, and I remember that I have a discount code for everyone listening to this podcast. So for anyone listening and coming to Warsaw, we have a 15% discount code for you, and it's going to be Buidl Radio 15.
Yay!
Buidl Radio
Nice.
15. Get your tickets now and join us in ETH Warsaw.
Yeah. Thanks everyone listening in, and that's definitely a story of my life, meeting all the people that I know on the events, but not like at home base.
Exactly.
This is kind of how the Buidl movement started in Ukraine as well. So this podcast is actually a spin-off of a tech community from Kiev. And that's it for today's episode, and thanks for tuning in. And very big thanks to Paweł from Chronicle for joining us. And if you enjoyed this conversation, share it with friends or teammates. And we'll catch y'all in the next one.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. It was fun.
Wrap up.
Done.
Woo!